Good Monday afternoon to you. Welcome on in to lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com, powered by Ameren, Illinois, and Gray Bar, and also driven by our friends at Mungenast St. Louis Acura and Mungenast Burkhardt Alton Toyota. Claibs, this past weekend, I was up in Iowa for a youth baseball tournament and drove a 2023 Sienna up there for the weekend. I had to fill up one time, and it was really nice. All the room we had in the van had other parents asking where we got the van, because I guess today you can't find many minivans that have the rails on the top to add extra stuff. And this 2023 Sienna had it, and along with all the other great features that they had, and those are available right now at Mungenast Burkhardt Alton Toyota.
You know, I was in a Sienna not long ago in an Uber, and I was thoroughly impressed with the size and just the comfortability, along with the fact that it's more like a car as far as the bells and whistles are concerned. So if somebody's looking for a van, like as you mentioned, hauling kids around or other things, I might want to take a longer look at that Sienna. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised.
Claibs, I got to say, I'm pretty surprised you just don't roll around in Uber Blacks all the time.
Somebody else had taken it already.
Oh, okay. Hey, speaking of Mungenast Burkhardt Alton Toyota, Claibs, they are every year they donate, they sponsor to the Alton High School alumni baseball game that I put on each and every year. This is year number 6 of the event. I don't know if you have seen the pictures yet that I've posted on social media. But if you haven't, I went and I had this is when you get friends that go along with stupid ideas that you have, you end up with pictures like this. This is, yeah, a little recreation of my senior pictures, Claibs. I'm coming up on 20 years, 20-year high school reunion later on this summer. So I went and I found the old high school senior pictures, and I remade 2 of them for the alumni game this weekend. So there you go for your viewing pleasure.
I'll try and put it, as they say on TNT, put it on a T-shirt.
It's funny you talk about high school. Don't dare me to put stuff on T-shirt. I mean, we've seen how that's turned out before.
It's funny you bring that up. I ran into my high school quarterback yesterday. He was at the ball game. And I came to realize I had not seen him in over 40 years.
Wow.
And he looks the same. So it was fun to catch up with him, and hopefully we'll see each other a little bit more. So as I tell people, the older you get, the more you appreciate reunions, because there's always going to be somebody that you're at a reunion with this year that won't be here next year for one reason or another.
Claibs, you mentioned being down at the ballpark this weekend. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of Cardinal baseball this past weekend. I caught the end of the game on Saturday, I believe, but just following along on social media and just kind of following along on the apps, it seemed like the new kid for the Reds, Ellie De La Cruz, really kind of showcased himself to the St. Louis fans this weekend.
Yeah, he's a really good player. He's gotten out to a really good start for his major league career. And as you watch him, you say to yourself, okay, where is the hole? Well, I mean, where does he short on? I didn't see it. I think he can do anything he wants to do. He can play short. He can play third. I bet he can play the outfield if he needed to. He might be the fastest guy in the game. Okay. I mean, he can really run. He's 6'5". He's a little over 200 pounds, big arm, swings the bat well. Again, and it really seems like he has a real good instinct as far as how the game works. So, he got my attention, and I'm sure he got the Cardinals' attention as well. The Cincinnati, I'm going to tell you this. I think Cincinnati, of all the young teams we've seen, probably has more upside than anybody else we have. And if they don't watch out, Cincinnati will be fighting for a division championship here sooner than later. They're lacking a little bit in starting pitching with experience. They got a pretty good bullpen. And if they can swing the bat a little bit better and as far as power is concerned, they could be a team to be reckoned with.
Their ownership has really, a few times over the last 2 years, their ownership has kind of put their foot in their mouth with some of the comments they've made in regards to their spending, in regards to kind of what they care about the fans and just how they're going about owning a team. So I don't expect them to be buyers at the trade deadline and add on to the payroll they have right now. But you mentioned about being in a division. They're 4 games back right now. It doesn't seem like anybody in the NL Central wants to run away with this, and it's there for the taking.
No, it is. I think Cincinnati's in a precarious position because, as I said, I think they need a little bit more starting pitching. I think everybody else would agree with that everybody's looking for starting pitching. So if they got into a trade market, they're going to ask for some of those really good prospects that they have. And I just think Cincinnati's got to hold on, weather the storm, let these young pitchers learn how to pitch and develop your own. I think if we've learned anything about baseball and free agency, if you don't know how to develop your own pitchers within your organization, you can't win. And look at all the guys that signed free agent contracts this offseason, the big numbers. And they're not having the sort of success that the money would call for. And, you've got teams and fans that are really upset about it. But I really think you just have to develop from within. You have to be patient. You have to have good people instructing them. And I think it's also important to make sure you let these guys pitch out of trouble. One of the mistakes we're making in the game today, we think, well, we don't want these guys to be seen the third time in the order, or we want to get them out on a positive note. Hey, you know what? Sometimes a guy has to get his brains beat in order to figure out what he's doing wrong. And this whole 2 times through the order is nonsense because you're going to burn up your bullpen that way. So you have to find some guys that can just be tough guys. And right now, I don't think there are enough tough guys in the game right now.
I lost you there for a second, Claibs, as you were finishing up your point. But you mentioned that I saw this weekend. So right now we see one of the stars in the game, one of the guys that's having a really good season, Luis Arias or Araza of the Marlins. Arise. Batting is he still over 400 after this weekend? So still over 400 after this weekend. And when you look at what he has faced so far this year, I saw somebody compare it to Ted Williams and his, the fact that
the amount of pitchers he faced compared to what Williams faced. Yeah, I think it's almost twice as many.
Yeah, it's twice as many already in June this season. Has faced twice as many pitchers as Ted Williams did the entire season. He hit 400.
Well, here's what's even more intriguing about him. This guy's got a chance to win a batting championship back-to-back in 2 different leagues. The batting champion last year, Minnesota. And Minnesota got Lopez in the deal. But, I watched him in spring training. He doesn't make outs, man. I mean, he's one of I think there was a half dozen guys last year who had more walks than strikeouts. And he was one of them. The kid over in Cleveland, Quan was one of them. I think there may have been 2 National Leaguers, but those 2 guys really stood out. But Arise is the real deal. Now, can he hit 400? I don't know. I think that's a real challenge. I think with the way teams pitch you now and just the pressure that would come with it, and I don't know what kind of guy he is. Maybe he doesn't care about social media. Maybe he doesn't care about being asked the same question all the time. But the one advantage that he has is technology is going to give him a look at who can do what against whom.
Mm-hmm.
This video on every pitcher, what he throws, the whole 9 yards, what he throws in certain situations. So that's a plus for him to be a little bit more prepared than, as you mentioned, Ted Williams. It's a different era. Yeah, it's even a different era when George Brett flirted with 400. So I think he's got a legit chance.
Right now, this was as of yesterday. He is hitting 402. That is the 8th highest batting average after a team's first 65 games since 1941. So the highest, by the way, was Andres Galarraga back in '93 when he was hitting 429, 65 games through the year. That's
I think he was in Colorado then too, right?
Would '93 have been? The Colorado, was that the first year in Colorado in '93?
Because we had him here for 1 year. He broke his hand in the beginning of the year, and he was never he couldn't contribute that particular season.
Yeah,
and then he went to Colorado, where he had some really good years there. But he was a good player in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, the game's changed. I'll be anxious to see how Arise develops and how he deals with off days and, Skip Schumacher making sure he puts him in good situations.
This week, the Cardinals have the Giants for 3 games here in St. Louis as a Brandon Crawford coming off his first ever pitching outing yesterday. I don't know if you got the chance to see that. He was
No.
topping 85 miles an hour from the mound yesterday. You know what? I know they put rules in place as far as when position players can pitch. I think there also should be a minimum. You have it be a veteran that hasn't pitched ever in his career and has put in more than 10, 15 years of service time. You let that guy pitch like Albert Yachty did last year. I'm sure Giants fans absolutely love seeing Brandon Crawford on the mound yesterday.
Here's a problem with that. There aren't that many 10 and 11-year players in the game anymore. I mean, they get out sooner. And I'm not sure if players are really that gung-ho about it. If you're an infielder, you might be able to get away with it, but I'm not sure if people get as much of a kick out of a guy because you know what? Most of the time you're already gone.
Mm-hmm.
When they have blowouts like that, you're not stick around for that. Would you actually say, hey, let's stick around because Brandon Crawford may end up pitching? I don't think that's going to work.
If the rules there though, I mean, if you put all the restrictions in, I do like the fact that he went out there and just was winging it and throwing fastballs. I'm not a fan of the recent trend of the guys just going up there and just kind of tossing it up over the plate. I want to see what you got. If you pitched in high school or college, I want to see you up on the mound and see what you still might have.
But there's a reason why he's playing another position. He
I
wasn't
know
that
that.
good.
I know. I still
So
want to see it.
that's a waste of time. What else you got?
This is coming from you in the broadcast booth. At that point, you just want to be gone for the game. I
I
get
got
it.
news for you. Everybody wants to be gone.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. From why I'm going at it from a perspective of maybe watching it from home or seeing the highlights of it online. So that's where I'm coming from with this. You being there and being like, all right, we've run out of stuff to talk about. We're good. Third game of the series. You want to get out of there. I understand where you're coming with this. So, what do you think of this Giants team that's coming in? What's the
head
scouting
scratcher?
report on them?
You know what? They're 500 team. We saw them earlier in the year. They don't have enough punch to me offensively. They're making some transition in different positions. It's more of a collection of players now. The one thing about them, Gabe Kapler tries to play everybody every night. Okay, he loves matchups and he loves switching. And he likes to use his whole bench every night. So we're going to see a lot of different guys come in. It'll be a good matchup tonight. Logan Webb hasn't pitched as well as he's done in the past. Matthew Liberatore gets a start, and I think it's at a point now for Liberatore to be able to pitch through some things. I don't want to see any more Cardinals pitching 5 innings and throwing 100 pitches. I think that's detrimental to what's going on here. And we have too many of those games. We don't have enough guys that are fighting through it right now. But it'll be an interesting test because San Francisco is trying to find their way also in a division that where Arizona's leading. So, you know what? I guess they feel like, why not us? We can stay close. Who knows? We might be able to put a run together. But, they are a team that is, as I said earlier, trying to find their way.
You mentioned that with the pitchers, the 5 innings, 100 pitches, and this isn't a rotation that's going out there and striking out 10, 12 guys in a game either. So it seems like it's been a struggle to find the strike zone. I saw the numbers over the weekend of 100-mile-an-hour pitches that have been thrown by teams. Cardinals have over 100 pitches more than second place as far as hitting triple digits on the gun. And you don't have anything to show for it. You just have it's guys that are throwing hard,
but
not
throwing
always knowing where it's
strikes.
going.
You're right. And I've said this before. Give me location over velocity any day of the week. And I think now we just have more throwers than pitchers. We got a couple of throwers on this team in Jordan Hicks and Ryan Helsley. They haven't been as good control-wise as they need to be. And I think it's a pattern. And I'm sure if you look at other teams, they can tell you the same thing about some of their guys. So we've kind of gotten away from the art of pitching because we've been enamored by the physical presence that some of these players possess. And that's not going to get it because here's a couple of things that are going to happen. One, he's going to end up with Tommy John. That's first thing. Second thing, he can't throw enough strikes. And I think when you look at some of these guys now, the good relievers, the good closers, 93 to 96, good movement, two pitches, and they know how to throw strikes. And if you give me one of those guys, well, the Cardinals need two of them, but if you can get me a couple of them, then I think you can do some damage.
Claibs, you have 6:45 games tonight and tomorrow. On Wednesday, it is a 12:15 game before the Cardinals head off to New York, and that's you'll be gone for a while after that. What is it, New York, D.C., and then you guys are flying over to England?
That is correct. And Washington is a little bit better than I think people give them credit for. They're just in a tough division. And then we go to New York, and that's kind of blowing up in their face. So, it's going to be an interesting test because, the Cardinals aren't in a position to take anyone for granted. I mean, they have to go in and thinking that they're playing the first place team every time. Well, let's put it this way. Everybody they're facing has a better record than them. So you can't take anyone for granted. But it'll be a good test. But, I think it starts tonight. You have to, in order to get hot, man, you got to win the game that you're about to play. And they don't do enough of that.
Next week on the show, we'll have a lot more London talk, as that is about 10 days away for you, about less than 2 weeks away before you guys take off to London. 2 games, Cardinals and Cubs out there. Bob Ramsey and I will come your way later on today with Daily Cards Live, get you the bootleg and lineups for the game today, and get you ready for Giants and Cardinals later on here on claibsonline.com. We need to take a break. When we come back, talk a little NBA Finals right here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe. We're powered by Ameren, Illinois, and Gray Bar, and also driven by Mungenast St. Louis Acura.
The Legends of Golf return to St. Louis in 2023. You won't want to miss one of the strongest fields in golf. Ernie Els, Steve Stricker, Bernard Langer, John Daly, and many more when they compete for the 2023 Ascension Charity Classic title, September 5th through the 10th at historic Norwood Hills Country Club. All proceeds benefit area charities. Together, we were able to donate over $1 million to those most in need last year. Visit AscensionCharityClassic.com.
Claibs also new sponsor here on Claibs Online. It's our friends at the Painting and Decorating Foundation. And just last week, you had a chance to sit down and talk with them. And we're going to be playing all kinds of clips and videos from your conversations with the Painting and Decorating Foundation, similar to this.
All right, so first of all, it's good to see both of you all. So why did you guys get involved in the painting project?
I got involved because my father was a master carpenter. And I wanted to kind of get involved in construction. I started from pre-apprenticeship. They directed me here. I've been doing everything.
I got put on the painting by my mentor because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after school. And I was all over the place. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then he was like, you should pick up painting because he did painting. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And then I'm so happy I did.
Claibs, we have it's a great partnership now with the Painting and Decorating Foundation. And I know plenty of, how many people did you know talking to that day? Just all kinds of folks out there.
We talked to quite a few people that day, and you'll be hearing more stories down the road. I think it's an ideal situation for young people. Some people don't know what they want to do once they finish high school, and some go to college and have success. And there are a lot of them that go to college and say, this is not for me. But what we talk about with the Painting and Decorating Council, they provide so many different disciplines, for lack of a better term, of being able to have your own business and being able to learn a real skill and a real trade that you can not only have locally, but you can take it anywhere. And it's provided by the unions. The unions have gotten together and decided, you know what, we want to train people the right way. And it's a great opportunity. And I would suggest if you're a parent and you're not sure what your kid's going to do next, because back in the old days, you either went to college or went to the Army, or you went to work. This is a great program. It's an apprentice program. It takes, I think, 4 years. But once you're finished, it's just like college. You will have a legitimate, well-paying job waiting for you.
Claibs, we could see the end of the NBA season tonight. Nuggets are up 3-1. Game 5 tonight at 7:30 in Denver. Do you think the Heat are able to extend this and take it back to Miami?
Well, I had the Heat winning this thing, so I'm going to stay with them. I think they may have run out of gas, though. They played a lot of tough basketball this year, especially getting into the playoffs and dealing with some very good teams in front of them. But the difference to me, Jokic, you can certainly raise your hand on him. Murray has been a terrific player also. I think Aaron Gordon has been the difference maker because the Heat don't have an answer for him. And I know I was on a show with Frank Cusimano recently telling him, hey, be careful of this guy because he doesn't need you to drop a play. He's a really good athlete. He's a former slam dunk champion, and he fits the bill for what Denver is all about. I think Miami's got their work cut out for him. This Denver bunch has never had a championship, and I've seen all the Denver teams from going back to the ABA days. This is as close as they're ever going to get. So I think it's important for Miami to weather the storm in the first quarter and the beginning of the third quarter. If they can weather the storm those two times, I think they have a chance.
It's upsetting to think that Stan Kroenke might get another championship tonight.
That would be Stanley Cup, Super Bowl, and now perhaps an O'Brien Trophy. It's something wrong with that picture for sure. But such is the case.
It is. So once we move on from that, I mean, we're already hearing rumors about what's going to happen next season in the NBA. All of that stuff has already kind of started up. All of the discussions about where, what Chris Paul's future is going to be. But then you hear Kyrie Irving kind of getting into the mix, and rumors last week that he wanted LeBron to come to Dallas.
That's not going to happen.
No, absolutely not.
First of all, two guys. Chris Paul's going to be 38 years old. What's the fascination with him? Okay, he's always hurt, especially late in the year. So I don't know how he helps somebody. If you're looking for leadership, perhaps, but surely there's got to be another leader out here that's under 38 years old that can help. And if Chris Paul had a ring, maybe you say, okay, well, he's been there, but he hasn't. Kyrie Irving, we've addressed him to the point enough where he's irrelevant to me. Any team who signs him to a long-term deal deserves disaster. Okay, he will leave there that place would be in a catastrophic mode before he leaves. So those two guys, to me, there's what's wrong with the league where they keep pinning hopes on people who really can't help anymore.
When you when you look at the future of LeBron, we know that he wants to play with Bronny. Does he play next year?
I would think so. I think that's just in his nature to want to play. Now, how much does he play? That's a good question because, he had a couple of injuries this year that kind of slowed him down. So I think he play. I don't think he can afford to sit out and wait a year for his kid for two reasons. One, we don't even know if his kid's that good. Okay. That's the first thing. Secondly, Father Time doesn't wait. I mean, you're a little older and you're a little slower. You don't have the skills. You can sit out 2 years. And I just don't think you can come back in that situation and think you're going to be better. You may be well rested, but you're going to be rusty. And I don't know if that's going to work for him.
Yeah, that's as putting another, even if it's 50 games plus playoffs on his legs. I don't think he wants to be out there looking bad if he's playing with Bronny for that 1 year. I would think, but sitting out a year, I think that's where you got to start weighing those pros and cons about will you be able to keep your body in shape while also resting it, rejuvenating it. And we know he's got the money, he's got the resources there to do all of that, but just a year of not playing, what does that do to somebody like LeBron, who's never missed that much significant time in his career to begin with?
No, I just think, what we're running into, Joe? A lot of people have thoughts and comments, and because they have a vehicle to circulate it through, it's not gospel to me. It's nice fodder, good conversation. Well, it's really not good conversation. It's kind of silly. But my point being, people are throwing things on the wall, hoping some of it will stick. And, at some point you have to apply a little common sense.
This is Lunch with Claibs and Joe. We will talk a little NHL and wrap things up in just a bit. Powered
and
by,
also, before we go to the break, we'll tell you about we'll have a a sit down with Nick Ragone from the Ascension Charity Classic coming up. Should drop later today. And we'll also remind everybody Bob Nightingale will be joining us soon. But also, did you see the was it the USFL game last night? Joe, they showed the crowd.
You know what?
If there were 100 people there, it was embarrassing. And now the XFL said they lost 60 million.
They had to know that, right? They had to know going in.
Well,
they were gonna lose.
Yeah, I know, and I agree with you. I guess what was their threshold? And we may not never know. I just don't know if spring football is as real as people think it is.
I mean, how much did St. Louis save them from losing more?
Yeah, that's true. But here's my thing. I think the one thing they did, they had a season. It was right after the NFL. They had a short season. I think they did a lot of things right. I just don't know if it's a TV sport that they think it is for that next tier of football.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll talk about some other stuff when we come back.
It's Lunch with Claibs and Joe.
Let me get this straight. Graybar is a distributor?
Yep. For more than 150 years, we supported electrical and datacom projects all over the country.
So you can get me products wherever and whenever I need them?
Yep. Thanks to our expansive national logistics network.
For any industry?
Yep. From construction sites and industrial plants to schools, hospitals, and just about everything in between.
So you could say Graybar is much more than a distributor.
Yep, you could say that.
They really do it all.
Yep. When you need a hand powering, connecting, or maintaining your operations, join the thousands of professionals who rely on Graybar to help keep them up and running. Yep, Graybar does that.
Claibs, final segment here. I almost forgot. We talked last Monday. We did the show, and then on Tuesday, the news came out about the PGA and the Live Golf Tour. I guess talking merger, as it seems like that rivalry did not last as long as we thought it would, and I haven't gotten your thoughts on that yet.
Well, you know, I said this to you early in the game. I thought Live was good for golf because you know what? Everybody's making more money. All right. That's the first thing. Second thing is we saw more players on the tour and we saw some pretty good competitors. And I think also mergers, and you pick the sport, you know, there's always going to be some rumbling, but mergers are always good for the fans and the players because it puts the best of the best together. And they all come in with an incentive of being able to make more money. This was a little different because I thought the PGA, they wanted to blame the Saudis for, investing into their game and talking about their human rights issues. And I always laugh at that, considering the human rights issues that take place in this country that people talk about or kind of sweep under the carpet. So I kind of found that to be kind of hypocritical. The other thing, though, that comes into play is, there's a lot of money being thrown around from the Saudis, and obviously the PGA could not compete. So if you can't beat them, you join them. I think, though, what they have to do is find a way to make some of these guys who turn down the money, if they offered you $100 million, there's got to be a way they got to give you some money up front and reward you for top 10 finishes above and beyond what the purse is, things of that nature to create a little bit more civility amongst the golfers, because some guys walked away from it being loyal to PGA only to wake up one day and say, well, we're not the PGA we used to be. So I think we're going to hear more details over the next few weeks. I know Nick Ragone and I talked about sooner is better than later with regard to educating everybody on what's next for the game of golf.
And you mentioned that podcast dropping possibly later today. We with you and Nick Ragone right here on claibsonline.com. Claibs, we don't have another hockey game until tomorrow as the NHL Stanley Cup Finals will continue. But before we do that, though, today happens to mark the 4-year anniversary of the Blues winning the Stanley Cup back in 2019. Doesn't seem like it was 4 years ago. But here we are with a roster that's completely been turned over ever since then.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point you make. It's nothing close to what we've been accustomed to seeing. And I guess the question is, what's it going to look like next year? It's a far cry from 4 years ago. It's an unrecognizable roster, and some of it I get. I mean, you have to make improvements over time, and you move on from players. But I think the direction that the team has gone has probably been more of a head scratcher than anything else. They're not better. That they weren't competitive enough. Although in one frame, they competed down the stretch, even though they didn't make the playoffs. There were some teams, and the team north of here, Chicago, just said, "No, we're going in the tank because we want Connor Bedard," and they're going to get him. So, I know they say he's a generational player. I'm a little concerned about his size, but if they put the right people around him, he could probably have a very prosperous career.
The Stanley Cup Finals, those could end tomorrow as the Vegas Golden Knights up 3-1 on the Panthers. That would be the second Stanley Cup for Alex Pietrangelo and Ivan Barbashev on the team from that 2019 Blues team. And it looks like maybe the luck has finally run out for Florida, who we've mentioned many times here on the show. They've been playing playoff hockey weeks before the playoffs started. They got lucky to get in there with the Penguins losing to the Blackhawks, second to last game of the season. And ever since then, kind of been playing with house money this entire postseason. And maybe it's finally run out, clock struck midnight, whatever phrase cliche you want to use.
Yeah, they were another team that I thought could win the Cup, but I think they got worn down. Colorado's a good team as they're showing it, but this is a hard trophy to win, and physically it takes its toll on you. And we'll find out after the tournament's over on who was playing with what injury. And when you hear about some of them, you're just like amazed that they're able to do it compared to baseball players who, it doesn't take much for them to be out for 10 days. But it's a real tribute to how game these hockey players are and what they're able to do. But I just think Florida just kind of ran out of gas also.
Claibs, do you have the Giants in town for 3 starting tonight? What do you have planned for the pregame?
That's a good question. My next meeting after talking to you, we will go over a few things and find out what we have. I know I'll be talking to the manager, Ollie Marmol, and let me, it's what I'm doing. I talk to him every day, 3 minutes, whatever. I've not seen a person more professional, more transparent, more thoughtful, and more informed than Ollie Marmol. And I've been doing this a long time. He's a better man than me. Let's just put it that way. Always trying to find a way to win and make his team better. So we'll talk. And there's some days I have nothing. There was one day I went and I said, "Hey, how about you interview me?" Yes, but he's been good about it. And I know people want to blame him for this. I'm not necessarily saying he should be blamed. I think he's doing everything he can. I mean, there's some other things that are going on that I hope they can get resolved. But Ollie Marmol is not the problem with this ball club.
As we've seen Jordan Walker come back up, he's been playing really well. We've seen a little bit of struggles from Paul DeYoung recently. Any chance we see Mason win this year?
No, but you're going to see Jake Woodford today because Ryan Helsley just went on the injured list. He's got a strained forearm, right forearm, which is why he hasn't been available for the last three days. So Jake Woodford is going to come up, and Jake Woodford just got activated from the injured list. So this is going to be interesting to see who's your closer. I guess it's going to be Gio at this point. You can't trust Hicks from what we've seen the last 2 outings from him. So here we go again. And again, I've said this to you before, again and again and again. This team should have went out and got another closer doing spring training. You can't win at this level with one guy like you used to.
The string of bad luck continues because it really felt like the Cardinals activating Woodford and sending him down to Memphis was because they wanted to make sure that they could get him good and stretched out to come back up here and be a starter. And then when Helsley goes on the injured list, he's got to be the next man up. You got to put him up in the rotation, so he's not going to have a chance to get those starts down in Memphis like they might have wanted.
Yeah, they're going to have to look outside the organization because this is not going well. I mean, the bullpen's already taxed. The most consistent guy out there this year has been Chris Stratton. He's given them some quality innings virtually every night. He had a little hiccup the other night, but overall he's been pretty good. But they need help, and it's not in the organization as we speak. You mentioned Mason Wynn. I think Mason Wynn, if you bring him up, you got to play him. plain and simple. You just can't have him come up and sit around, because I don't think that helps a guy like that. He's got to play. You got to get this outfield situation figured out. You got to have some other things going on to make sure you're on the right path. And there's a lot of things that still need to take place that this team needs to do if they want to feel like they're going to be in contention for 2023.
Well, we will tune in to the pregame show tonight. We'll hear all about those roster moves and your interview with Ali Marmol and whatever else you guys come up with in your meeting that's going to be taking place here in a few minutes after you and I get done with this. Claibs, once again, we want to welcome on board the Ascension, as you talked with Nick Ragone just last week. That'll be coming out on Claibs Online later today, along with Gray Bar and the Painting and Decorating Foundation. You'll be hearing a lot more from all of our new sponsors here on Claibs Online over the next several weeks.
And don't forget about the sponsors we have. And as you see, Gray Bar, Ameren, Illinois, certainly our friends from Munganast Toyota, Munganast Burkhardt Toyota of Alton, Illinois. And we have a few more people that are lined up. Bootleggers is part of what we do now. So a lot of fun things, Fast Eddie. So a lot of fun things from a lot of fun people. And we're just glad they're on board.
And whenever you get back from all of your travels, Claibs, we're going to head over to Alton, Illinois, and we're going to check out our new sponsors over there at Fast Eddie's.
Jolly good.
All right.
My British. So, I want to get one of those bearskin hats. You know the ones. I'm going to see if I can slip that on the plane.
All right. I look forward to seeing that. All right. He is Mike Claiborne. I'm Joe Roderick. This has been Lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Ameren, Illinois, and Gray Bar, and driven by Munganast St. Louis Acura here on ClaibsOnline.com. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
There's always been a bright side to living in downstate Illinois. Ameren, Illinois is making it even brighter with a little help from the sun. Right now, we're building a next-generation solar facility to bring you cleaner energy for generations to come. It's good for the environment, your neighborhood, and everyone living in downstate Illinois. That's brighter thinking. That's energy at work. Learn how you can participate in solar programs at amerenillinois.com/renewables.